We're going to have to include Republicans in the discussion if they want that to succeed. I believe very strongly that we need to have a robust, detailed, and it would probably be a very lengthy debate about the pros and cons of addressing global climate change through a cap-and-trade program, especially given our current economic situation. And quite honestly, that debate has not yet begun in the Senate. On the Senate side, the EPW committee has held no markups, hasn't introduced language to consider. The most that we've seen from the majority is a one-page list of principles on climate change legislation. So despite the lack of progress on climate change in the Senate, what we have done within the Energy Committee, I think, has made some real progress in terms of promoting policies that will significantly reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. One of those pieces of that legislation that we are crafting, the centerpiece in fact, is a Clean Energy Deployment Administration Act, which will promote the development of clean energy technologies without imposing new mandates or additional regulatory burdens. My concern is that any progress that we're going to be able to achieve in reducing our greenhouse gas emissions can be undone if the Democratic leadership insists on attaching climate change legislation to the energy bill. We know it's going to be tough enough to find 60 votes in the Senate to pass an energy bill. And believe me, Chairman Bingaman and I are working quite diligently to make this be a bipartisan effort. We've got some of the very difficult issues that lay ahead of us, and so it remains to be seen whether we'll be able to accomplish this. But if we were to take this energy bill, marry it up with certain aspects of a climate change provision that might come over from the House, I would suggest to you that it will be next to impossible to get 60 on a combined bill that has that climate change component to it. Now, in order to ensure that nuclear has a role to play in the energy and the climate change debate, we in Congress need your help. We're looking to you for assistance on this. You're very well aware of the administration's proposed Blue Ribbon Commission, the alternative to Yucca Mountain. We need your help here to make sure that the administration does the right thing on this. Now, I may disagree that this is the right path to be going down, but nevertheless, it appears that that is the direction that is being taken. But we need to make sure that the administration selects the right people for this commission, that they expand the scope of the commission to look at a nuclear energy policy in its entirety and not just a nuclear waste policy. And I think we also need to make sure that the independence of this commission is truly intact. It's going to be important if we're looking to this entity to map this out for the next 2 years, to the maximum extent possible to insulate it from the political whims that are out there. I think we need to try to do so. We need to work on the administration to support the work of the Energy Committee on reprocessing and storage. And we need your active participation to move the nuclear agenda forward. It's time that the administration come forward with its plan for the inclusion of nuclear power in its overall energy policy and what it intends to do with existing as well as future spent nuclear fuel. We shouldn't be scratching our heads and saying, where's nuclear within the policies of the administration? I want to end my comments on an uplifting note. I will tell you that the meetings that I have had, the conversations that I have had with folks within the industry are positive. And despite some of what is happening with the politics, I think there is a sense that we are gaining momentum within the industry. That it's not everything that we would have asked for, but given what we have in front of us, there is a level of optimism and kind of a can-do attitude, if you will, that will keep us going. So working with you, we will see this resurgence. We will look back and we will say that those were the days of the nuclear renaissance, and weren't we right? And that's what we want to be looking back to. So with that, I think we've got an opportunity for a couple questions, but I thank you for your time this morning.
I'll always take an opportunity to ask a question. Can you tell us a little bit about the politics of nuclear's inclusion or exclusion from a renewable energy standard? A number of speakers have said nuclear should be in the RES, but I recognize there's pressure back against that. Can you talk about that? And maybe is a clean energy portfolio standard in the works? What's the evolution that you see in that regard?
Well, as far as including nuclear in a renewable energy standard, this is one of the must-haves that I have laid out there, and saying if we're truly going to make a difference with emissions in this country, then let's include those energy sources that really do help to reduce the emissions. And so when there's pushback on nuclear, say, well, you can't do nuclear, it's not really renewable. So the question that I have asked time and time again is, well, what is our goal with a renewable electric standard? Is our goal to construct more wind turbines? Is our goal to construct more solar panels? Or is our goal to reduce emissions? Because if our goal is to reduce emissions, it seems more than just a little bit hypocritical to me that you would take off the table the energy producing source that has been helping to power this country and producing no emissions. So talk to me about that. I don't understand it. I have the same problem when we're talking about hydro. In Alaska, about 25% of our energy, our electricity, comes from hydropower. But yet the definition that we use within this RES doesn't include this renewable, clean energy source. So again, I have to take them back. I said, well, what are you trying to get at? I am convinced that some of my colleagues really are trying to just build more windmills. And I don't have a problem with wind generation. I don't have a problem with solar. But what is our real goal? And we haven't made the progress on this in terms of inserting it in the RES. Now they're talking about, well, new nuclear can be included, but existing nuclear cannot. Well, think about that for a minute. What we're doing with this RES is we're saying, okay, reductions, by the year 2020 or 2025, depending on whose version you're using. Well, just take one of the facilities that is underway now. Hopefully, the Constellation facility up in Maryland, Calvert Cliffs. When is that new nuclear going to be online so that would count? How much are we actually going to be able to count for purposes of meeting this RES within the next 20 years? So don't say that we've given you nuclear by saying that new nuclear can be included in the mix. This is something that I intend to press. It's going to be a big debate and a big argument on the floor. But I think people need to be honest about what it is with the goal that we have. Alex asked the very important question about a clean energy standard. And this is again, an idea that Senator Domenici